Hello, everyone. This is Jay. I'm here with my mother, Mary.
Hello, Jay.
Hi, Mom. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, fine. So, Mom, Diane and I just restored this table. That's the round table that when we were in Bellport used to be the coffee table. It's round with it's 54-inch diameter, and it's made of chestnut, we were told recently. Mm-hmm. And we now have that as our dining table in our dining room. Tell us about the history of this table.
Well, the history of the table, as far as we know, is that it came from Charleston, brought by Emma Cecilia Bacot and her family when they fled the Civil War back in 1865 or whenever it was, and came north. And when she married my great-grandfather, I guess, they used this table, and they used it out here in East Hampton.
Oh, is that so? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. They used
when
it.
When she came up from the south, where did she come to?
I have no idea. And I have no idea how they met. He came from Ireland in 1850.
And I'm sorry, what is his name?
His name is Thomas Ritchie.
I see.
And he came because of the potato famine in Ireland. And he worked his way up to being a minister and was a professor of ecclesiastical history at, what is it in New York? General Seminary in New York. And when they married, he came out here in 1894 when the first trains came out.
Oh, is that so? Is that when the trains made it out to the East End?
Yes, yes. And he brought his family out, and he famously said, "I love coming out to East Hampton because it's so friendly, so healthy, and doesn't cost a lot of money to be here."
It certainly didn't back then.
Back then, not so much.
Do you know if they brought any other furniture?
Yeah, they brought that large sideboard that we had.
It was kind of a sideboard, big cabinet in Bellport.
It was huge, right.
And it was a monstrosity. But it was sitting there in the dining room, and that's actually where you kept your silver and the various plates, and it was kind of to the side of the windows overlooking the bay, and the dining room table was in the center, and this was on the side.
Right, and it had that beautiful, what do you call it, tea urn. Oh, sorry. I can't remember the name of it now, but some of Uncle Sam's and Aunt Maud's beautiful silver on it.
Oh, right. I do remember that.
Samovar.
I don't know what that means.
I think that's a tea thing.
Okay.
Google it, you all.
So, and that's the only furniture that you know of that came from the South?
That's all that I know of. And that had to come up on a mule train or something. So it went clunkety, clunkety, clunk for a long time.
Well, we have it still, and that means it's over 150 years old, and it's actually in very, very good shape. And the restoration fellow in New York was delighted to work on it because it's a real piece of wood furniture. It's solid wood. One of the interesting things is that it's a round table on the top, but he pulled out his ruler right away and measured the following. This round table is actually made of 3 slabs of wood that are joined along the grain, set side by side and joined along the grain. And he measured the dimension along the grain and then perpendicular to the grain, and found that in fact it had shrunk by 1.5 inches perpendicular to the grain, which apparently is natural, and that's how he said, this is a real table and it's really old. So he kind of solved a mystery for me that I never understood, why it was actually a little elliptical.
Oh, I see. So did he change the table then? To be more? No, he just noticed that.
He buffed it out, and he fixed one of the legs. And he said that the hardware underneath, there's a piece of brass locking hardware, and that was British. Now, it's probably made, in mass over in Britain and then sold in hardware stores here, so it's not to say it's particularly special, but there's an interesting provenance there.
Yes. Yes.
And then he said the legs were, oh dear, they were of, and I forget which style, whether they were a French style or an Italian style, but he recognized it right away, and I'm just forgetting.
Probably French, because she was a Huguenot family.
Yes, actually, you raise a good point. So we spoke of when the table came north and when Emma Cecile Bacot came north, but tell us more about the Huguenots.
The Huguenots were kicked out of France by the Moors, I think, something like that, and they.
Around when? I mean, roughly when?
I'm not sure. I think 17 something or other.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them came to Charleston and set up their lives in Charleston,
mm-hmm.
and they maintained their religion.
Mm-hmm. It must be a variation of Catholicism.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah, but you weren't allowed to be various.
Yeah, okay.
Back in, yeah. And they certainly, undoubtedly, people who lived in Charleston were very unhappy to leave.
But it was the war.
But it was the war, and
mm-hmm.
Charleston was the hub of the war.
Mm-hmm. Certainly for the South.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should I tell the story of Johnny?
Yes, I was just going to ask you.
Okay.
Now, this is reference to my Uncle John, which is Mom's brother, who famously understood all about the family history on the Northrop side.
Yes, and he knew the Huguenot connection, so he took all his papers showing how Huguenot-y we are, and took them down to Charleston to the Huguenot Society.
And this is, when he was doing this is before Google, so this is 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, long time ago,
mm-hmm.
right. And the woman at the Huguenot Society looked over his papers very carefully and finally looked up at him and said, well, you know, she went north, which meant you were not allowed to join the Huguenot Society.
Of the South.
She was not a real Huguenot. She went north.
Right. Did he point out the date that she tried to stay as long as she could, or it didn't even matter?
Didn't matter.
I like how they had a record of the fact that she went north. They probably had her name with a strikeout through it. Right.
Or Johnny had it in his papers.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a great disappointment to the family.
Well, I'm not sure it had too much impact on how it's all turned out.
Yeah.
And is there any other information about the Huguenots that you know, or is this really, to your knowledge, kind of the extent of it?
Yeah, well, the other family member was De Saussure, or as my husband Art used to say, De Saussure, because he didn't like snooty stuff.
Well, that's for sure.
So the De Saussures came to Charleston, and
as a Huguenot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe so. And my grandmother's name was Mary De Saussure Ritchie Northrop.
Oh, really?
And my father wanted to name me Mary De Saussure Northrop, but my mother wanted her name in, so I'm Mary Virginia Northrop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether we have any De Saussures left.
Now, the Emma Cecile Bacot came over as a Huguenot, and what is his first name, De Saussure?
Horace De Saussure was the one.
Did they know each other when they came over?
I have no idea.
Disparate points in time?
Yeah, I have no idea about that. I haven't researched it.
Mm-hmm.
But we could tell about Horace De Saussure.
Right, so is there some information you know about him? Did he come north?
I guess so, because somehow the De Saussure name came north. So.
Your grandmother or grandfather?
Great-grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
My father's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Oh, Horace de Saussure, which is back in maybe the 1600s or something.
Oh gosh.
Was a scientist and living in Switzerland, and he went to climb Mont Blanc. He was the third person, I guess, to climb it, but he set up solar to heat his soup or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did several interesting things, and there is a statue in his honor in Chamonix, which is the place you go before you climb the mountain. So he's revered over there, and I have photographs of him.
But so how do you have photographs of him if this was the 17th century?
Oh, that's a good point. I'll show you the photograph.
Do you have the dates right? I mean, maybe it's the 19th century? Because I don't think that they were mountain climbing in the 17th century.
Okay, 18th century?
Yeah, well, we can guess. If you have a photograph, that's certainly
I have
informative.
A photograph. Should I go get it now?
No. But I have seen, because I have read a great deal about mountain climbing around the world. These early mountain climbers, it's not like today. They had a whole army of people, and they had trunks of stuff that they would carry, that the army would carry up.
Yeah.
So it was a very big production back then.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's not a photograph of him, it's a photograph of a painting of him.
That's what I was thinking. There's some drawing.
Yes.
I think you've shown that to me in the past.
Yeah, I have.
That is kind of the extent, then, of the de Saussures. They're Huguenots. They came to Charleston, and then moved up north, and then actually somewhere in the New York area. Were they out here in East Hampton?
No. And when my great-grandmother married, she married Howard Gould Northrop, who was the son of Jay Gould's sister.
Right.
So he was Howard Gould Northrop, and they lived in Chicago, and he worked for Jay Gould's railroad there.
Right.
And my father was born there.
Come back to some of this a little on another track.
Yeah.
So with respect to the Huguenots and De Saussure and Emma Cecile Bacot, that reminds me, in fact, don't we have a sketch or a picture of a portrait of Emma Cecile Bacot in the house here?
Yeah, we have
this small one.
Yes, yes, that's a picture of a portrait. Yeah,
I see.
When she was a little girl.
Sure. And do you have any idea where that portrait is?
No, I have no idea.
Did you take the picture, or is it handed down to you?
Handed down. I wonder if maybe Cousin Martha.
We'll talk about her on another track.
Right.
And the larger drawing that you have framed of a portrait, is that Emma Cecile Bacot in the gold frame in the living room?
No, that's Aunt Maud.
Oh, that's Aunt Maud. Okay,
yes.
Well, when we speak of Aunt Maud, then we'll talk more about that.
Right.
But I have to say, at some level, I don't even know.
Yeah, right. Well,
No. That's the large painting.
Yes.
But we have the much smaller drawing of...
I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, well, we'll pick that up on another track then.
Okay.
Do you have any other pictures or photographs or drawings or, art of these folks?
No. It's a shame. I think Emma Cecilia or someone in the family went back to France and made a flower notebook, the way they used to dry flowers and put them in a notebook.
Yes.
And write the date and the name of the flower and all that. And Cousin Martha had that, so I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Anything to add along this line of the family from the south and coming north?
Yeah, just that her name is Emma Cecilia.
Oh, okay. Not Cecile.
Cecilia Bacot.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been very pleasant to talk about the Huguenots, which I've heard of for a long time, and just to help connect the dots.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you, Mom.
I've enjoyed it very much, Jay.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. Bye, Tubies.
Bye, Tubies.